So I kind of wanted to do a bonus Valentine's Day video for you guys, and before those of you who are not into Valentine's Day start griping about materialism and how much it sucks to be single on Valentine's Day, yeah, I get it. There's, the materialism factor, being pressured into buying gifts for someone. There's also the perspective that, there's a day devoted to something that you should be doing all the time, which is appreciating the person you're in a relationship with, if you're in a relationship, which, we also have Mother's Day and Earth Day and stuff like that. Every holiday is about something that should exist year-round. Thanksgiving, and then there's also the, it sucks to be single on Valentine's Day, and people make the point, well, it also sucks to not have a mother on Mother's Day or a father on Father's Day. It, also sucks to not be able to afford to buy people gifts around the holiday seasons, but the way I see it, I like that we have a holiday that celebrates love, and I don't think it has to be a romantic love. One of my high school teachers used to call Valentine's Day Love Day, and it was just about spreading the love. It doesn't have to be romantic. It can be, how much you love your best friend, how much you love your close family members, anyone who you feel like you love. That's what it's about. And for some people that may just be a romantic partner, and for some people that's a lot more people. I like to show my appreciation for a bunch of people who are close to me, family, friends, relationship or otherwise. So, a couple friends and I are going to be making chocolates and handing them out to friends and family and such. So that's how I'm celebrating. If you aren't into the stereotypical Valentine's Day, make it mean something else for you. That's all I'm gonna say. Anyway, going on to what I'm actually going to be talking about today, I found this book on my shelf and realized that I had never read it, and thought what a shame this is. So some of you who have been with me for a long time will remember that a long time ago, when this channel was very new, I did a zombie romance video on a bunch of poems that were written for a poetry set that was, zombie love poems, basically. And when I went to the bookstore to go get that book, the bookstore, the girl working there pointed this book out and said, if you are into zombie romance, this is a book that I have recently read that you would like, and it's called Breathers, A Zombie's Lament by S G Browne. And I recently found it on my bookshelf, realized I hadn't read it, and thought, oh, perfect for Valentine's Day. I could totally, read, like, the first chapter of this. It's, let's see how long it is. It's about 300 pages, so standard story. I really like this picture on the front. I really like the cover art. And I just really like the genre of zombie romance. So there's this really good movie called Warm Bodies, which I happen to love, about, post-apocalyptic zombie romance between a zombie and a human. And it's, one of my favorite. I don't know, I guess I'm a sucker for romance, as obvious as it is from all the love poems I've read to you guys. And I also have this strange intrigue with the whole zombie apocalypse idea, and it makes it better, I guess, by adding the whole, love in a time of apocalypse spin to it. So I'm going to read the back of this so you guys have some idea what the story's about, and then I'm just going to read the first chapter and sort of talk about it a little bit, I guess. This is completely, like, again, haven't read it, know absolutely nothing about it except for the fact that it was recommended to me by the girl in the bookstore based on the other books I was picking up that day. So, Browne's black comedy debut brilliantly reinvents zombie culture for the 21st century. Publishers Weekly. For fans of Max Brooks' The Zombie Survival Guide and zombie aficionados everywhere, a hilarious debut novel about life and love after death. Okay, so The Zombie Survival Guide is another thing that I have read bits of. So, there you go. Further reason why I would probably like this. Meet Andy Warner, a recently deceased everyman and newly minted zombie. Resented by his parents, abandoned by his friends, and reviled by a society that no longer considers him human, Andy is having a bit of trouble adjusting to his new existence. But all that changes when he goes to an undead anonymous meeting and finds kindred souls in Rita, an impossibly sexy recent suicide with a taste for the formaldehyde and cosmetic products, and Jerry, a 21-year-old car crash victim with an exposed brain and a penchant for Renaissance pornography. When the group meets a rogue zombie who teaches them the joys of human flesh, things start to get messy, and Andy embarks on a journey of self-discovery that will take him from his casket to the SPCA to the media-driven class-action lawsuit on behalf of the rights of zombies everywhere. Darkly funny, surprisingly touching, and gory enough to satisfy even the most discerning reader, Breathers is a romantic zombie comedy, rom-zom-com for short, that will leave you laughing, squirming, and clamoring for more. A zombie comedy with brains, says Kirkus. So there you go. The website is undeadanonymous.com. That's pretty great. Anyway. As we venture into the first chapter. Oh, wait. There we go. I wake up on the floor in darkness. Faint artificial light filters through a window, which doesn't make sense because there aren't any windows in the wine cellar. But I'm not able to deal with that question until I figure out why I'm on my back in a pool of liquid that's seeping into my clothes. That, and I can hear Sammy Davis Jr. singing Jingle Bells. When I sit up, something rolls off my body and onto the floor with a hard, hollow thunk. It's a bottle. In the faint light coming in through the window, I watch the bottle roll away across the floor until it comes to rest against the wall with a clang. It's an empty bottle of wine. And the wall isn't a wall, but the base of the whirlpool oven. I'm in the kitchen. On the digital LED display at the top of the range, the clock changes from 12:47 to 12:48. My head is pounding. I don't know how many bottles of wine I've consumed, but I know I started drinking before lunch. The impetus on my wine binge is as clear to me as the digital numbers of the oven clock, but I have no idea what happened to the last 12 hours, or how I ended up in the kitchen, or what I'm sitting in. Part of me doesn't want to know. Part of me just wants to believe that it's nothing more than fermented grapes, that I somehow managed to get out of the wine cellar and into the kitchen and then passed out, dumping the contents of the bottle of wine onto the floor. Except the front of my clothes aren't wet, only the back, and since the bottle was on my chest when I woke up, I couldn't have spilled the wine onto the floor without soaking my shirt. I put my hand down in the puddle, which is congealed and sticky, and then bring my hand up to my nose. It smells sweet. At first I think it's yogurt or strawberry preserves, until I put my finger in my mouth. It's Baskin-Robbins strawberries and cream ice cream, my father's favorite. He keeps at least 2 quarts of it in the freezer at all times. What I don't understand is what it's doing on the kitchen floor. Then I turn around and stagger to my feet and understand why. 3 quarts of Baskin-Robbins are smashed open, and their contents, melted and spreading out across the floor. Surrounding them are boxes of frozen vegetables, packages of frozen meats, containers of frozen juice concentrate, and half a dozen ice cube trays, their contents melted and mixed in with ice cream, forming a pool of defrosted frozen items. Oh shit, I think. What the hell did I do? Not that it really matters. My parents are going to ship me off to a zoo when they get back from Palm Springs. Unless they wake up in the morning and my father is upset enough about what I've done to cancel the trip and ship me off to a research facility out of spite. I don't know what I intended to accomplish by dumping the entire contents of the freezer onto my kitchen floor, but I figure it would probably be a good idea to try and put back what I can and clean up the rest of it before my parents wake up. But when I open the freezer, I discover there's not any room. My parents are in the freezer. I can see hands and legs and feet and my father's face staring out at me from the second shelf. His head is in a large Ziploc freezer bag, as are the rest of my parents' body parts. Or most of them. When I open the refrigerator, my parents are in there too. All the wine I've drunk is suddenly trying to find its way back into the bottle, and I barely make it to the sink before I throw up. Actually, it's more like reverse drinking. Just wine and a little stomach acid, but no chunks of mom or dad. Our relationship wasn't always like this. Sure, there were the standard growing pains and disagreements most parents and sons encounters. Hormones, independence, latent edible desires. But when your only son reanimates from the dead, it creates an entirely new dynamic that your average parents just aren't prepared to handle. After all, it's not like there's a handbook for dealing with spontaneous resurrection. That's the technical term for zombies that you hear thrown around by experts on talk shows and news programs, as if they know what it's like to be a reanimated corpse. They have no idea of the emotional fallout from a rapidly digesting pancreas, or how hard it is to keep their tissues from liquefying. My father was the de facto expert, and by de facto, I mean he was the only one who considered himself an expert on anything. Plumbing, politics, personal hygiene. You know, Andrew, you can get rid of those blackheads by using olive oil and vinegar. He actually believed this. Fortunately, he let Mom do the cooking. Otherwise, I would have been the only kid in my school eating arugula salad with sliced pears, Asiago cheese, and benzoyl peroxide dressing. Don't get me wrong, my dad wasn't an idiot. He just always thought he was right, even when he had no idea what he was talking about. He would have made a great politician. However, I do give my father props for his choice in refrigerators. Mom wanted one of those Whirlpool side-by-side models, but my father insisted on the Amana bottom freezer. Said it was more energy efficient, drawing out cold air down instead of up. He also claimed it provided better use of shelf space. While my parents' heads and most of their limbs are tucked away inside the freezer, their bodies, from hip to shoulder, are stuffed in the refrigerator. Had it been a side-by-side model, I never would have been able to fit their torsos onto the shelves. Thanks, Dad. On the CD player in the living room, Dean Martin is singing Auld Lang Syne. Staring at my parents stuffed in the Amana bottom freezer, their torsos crammed between the mayonnaise, leftover Thanksgiving turkey, their heads sealed in Ziploc bags, I'm overcome with a surreal sense of disbelief. From the expression on my father's face, it appears he's just as surprised as me. Maybe none of this would have come to pass if my father taken the time to understand what I was going through instead of treating me like a pariah. Or maybe I'm just kidding myself. Maybe everything that happened between the accident and now was inevitable. So that's all of the first chapter. Chapter 2 starts with 2 months before I find my parents in the Amana bottom freezer. And I'm not going to tell you where that sentence goes. I guess wanted to know if that's where the beginning was, or if it's going to go to a flashback sequence, I guess, and tell you what happens leading up to that point. But anyway, yeah, that is interesting. He seems surprisingly mentally there for a zombie. I guess, again, he says it's simply being reanimated. I remember, for example, the main other piece of media that I've, I guess, experienced other than this would be Warm Bodies, where not all of the characters even remember their names. So, for example, the main character knows his name starts with an R, but doesn't know anything else, so he just calls himself R. And it's like a very clear, Romeo and Juliet type story, but because he's R and the girl is named Juliet, so obviously. But it's like you can slowly see him become more human over the course of it, whereas he already sounds pretty human. And again, I'm pretty sure Warm Bodies was based off of a book, so I don't know whether, as much of it came across in the book as the movie, and the difference between that is, and, if this was a movie, maybe it would be treated a little bit more like Warm Bodies, or whatever, I don't know. But anyway, if you're into that, was recommended by someone who is apparently more into zombie romance, and I'm definitely going to be reading more of this, so there's that. When I found this, I kind of figured it would be a good pick for a Valentine's Day thing, just because it's obviously romance, but somehow zombie romance makes it feel a little less sappy, I don't know. Anyway, that's it for today, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.